Lloyd, aside from being a super dad with 7 kids and having traveled the world telling others about how to overcome objections and sell annuities, life insurance, financial planning, retirement planning by helping people overcome the hardest objections that they get. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man. My kids still make fun of me for playing the guitar. And the reason is because I'm not very good at it, but I like playing it. I like to write a bunch of articles, so I do that all the time. And I've been dabbling around in the insurance and financial service industry since 1977, which only a few people on this call today will know what a debit agent is, but I was one of them.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So, I mean, all this wealth of experience, and you're going to come on and we are going to try to condense these almost 40 years of experience into a session where we're going to do objection, rebuttal. So we're
Well,
going to do some live role plays.
Here's what I want your audience to do today.
Yes.
I want them to do one thing, just one thing. Don't listen today to rule things out. Listen today to rule something in. Just rule in one thing that you can do different tomorrow to make money. That's all. Just rule in one thing.
One thing. Excellent. So let's make this our thing, everybody. And here's what we're going to try to do. So I might mess up on this because this is the first time we do this on Zoom. So, you know, my mantra, progress, not perfection, right? So if I accidentally kick you off the call, just dial back in or log back in. We're going to get Lloyd warmed up, but here's my challenge today. If any of you can throw an objection that Lloyd cannot handle, I will give you $100 cash. All right. So that's the fun game that we're going to play today. If you get an objection and Lloyd's like, we're going to try to stump Lloyd. All right. But Lloyd, let's just do a little bit of game theory around objections so that people get some context. Because I believe that if you're going to become a master at something, you got to know what you don't know. And so my first question to you is, what is it that most advisors don't know, don't understand about objections?
I think the biggest challenge we have is that it's twofold. I think number one, we think that our job is to answer objections. In other words, we approach the relationship building process as if an objection is supposed to come up. So I think that's the first thing. And the second thing is that we don't learn by mistakes. There's only 4 categories of objections. You guys write this down, and then I'll give you this $100 back if you can prove me wrong. Write this down. There's only 4 basic categories of objection: no money, no need, no hurry, and no confidence. No money, no need, no hurry, no confidence. Almost every objection you've ever received falls in those 4 categories. So when I say that we don't learn by our mistakes, is you've heard, I want to think about it, 9,999 times. But when you hear it this afternoon or tomorrow, you're going to go, so we don't learn by our mistakes.
Excellent. So Lloyd, what are some of the most common objections? Like I'm going to start off with a real layout. This is probably the number one that everybody gets. I need to think about it. So you just gave me an amazing plan. You had an annuity up in there. You had a life insurance plan in there. There's a bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of new acronyms and words I didn't understand. I need to think about it, Lloyd.
My experience is that the reason that I want to think about it comes up is one primary mistake that we all make. We all make this. We make it in our personal life. We make it in our business life. We make it in our friendships when we used to go out and have drinks with people. That one primary mistake is we don't get away from giving them something to think about. The reason they say I want to think about it is you gave them something to think about. So, I mean, look at it this way. If you don't feel well and you go to a doctor and you go to Dr. A and you describe your symptoms, I've got a cold, my head hurts, I've got a runny nose. And Dr. A says, okay, Jeremiah, I can give you this medicine, I can give you this medicine, I can give you this medicine, I can give you this medicine. Which medicine do you want? And you go to Dr. B and you describe your symptoms. I got a headache, my body aches, runny nose, sore throat. And he says, okay, I know what's wrong with you. Fills out a prescription, hands it to you, says, take this twice a day, come back and see me in 10 days. Which doctor do you have more confidence in? Most people have more confidence in Dr. B, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And the reason is because he diagnosed the problem and she prescribed the solution. And so what happens is we become Dr. A. We want to give them all these choices. And the reason we want to give them all these choices is we don't recognize that our job is to build a relationship with people and sell them the problem they have. We have product knowledge. We're relationship ignorant and product knowledge, and we're masters of product knowledge. And we think our job is to disseminate the product knowledge to the prospect, and they're not interested in that. They're interested in them.
I've never heard that term, relationship ignorant. And that's exactly what it is. But we're product experts, but we're not understanding the nature of the relationship and that confusion. Excellent.
I'm not trying to stump you, and I'm not trying to, get the best of you. Just whatever the honest answer is. Do you do better when you feel better or you feel bad? Just think about that for a second. Do you do better when you feel better or you feel bad? If most of you, because there's always 20% that want to be oppositional. If most of you say you feel better, you do better when you feel better, then here's my next question for you. Do you feel better? Do you do better when you win or when you lose? You feel better when you win, right?
Absolutely.
So if you feel better when you do better and you do better when you win, why do we ever want our prospects to be wrong? When we don't validate what they're feeling, we don't acknowledge what their perception is of what's going on in their world right now, when we don't align ourselves with them, and we do things like, well, last year at this time, you were doing okay. The market goes up and down. It'll happen again this year. You don't really need to do it. That's kind of like when you stump your toe and somebody says, are you hurt? It's kind of like when you're driving along with your spouse in the car and a car pulls out in front of you and you jerk the wheel and they're all freaked out and you go, calm down, calm down. We tell people they're either wrong to feel what they're feeling or they don't have a right to feel what they're feeling. And so what happens is that we actually think that people catch logic. People catch emotion, they don't catch logic. And so we respond back to people with logic. We respond to them on the things that we know. And the reason we respond to them on the things that we know is that we don't trust ourselves to build this relationship with them. We don't actually see ourselves as in a relationship with them. But in your personal life, you wouldn't do that. In your personal life, if you get together with a bunch of friends, you recognize what people are feeling, you respond to it, and you use validation. You say things like, Bob, listen, I didn't mean for you to get upset about that. Let me tell you what I meant by that. We do that type of conversation with people. But in a sales situation, hey, I'm a professional, man. I'm gonna baffle you with my BS and I'm gonna dazzle you with my brilliance. And that's why people go, yeah, thanks a lot, clicker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because we talk to advisors every single day, right? And it's amazing the amount of, I'm trying to find the precise word for this. I'm going to say it's deceit that a lot of us have with ourselves in our situation. We don't want to get real that we have a prospecting problem. We don't want to get real that we have a sales problem. We don't want to get real that people aren't connecting with us. And we don't want to get real that, they don't think that we're this savant on policies and life insurance. Like if you were able to reframe and actually look at the way consumers look at our industry, insurance and financial services, it is just a big confusing blob. And what I love about your approach is you're like, okay, get off of yourself. The fact that you've got five letters after your name does not matter to these people. So let's dive into it. We got a couple that started to show up here. And I'm going to give you one from Roxanne. So Roxanne is saying that, I need to look at my budget. So what would you say to that?
Well, first of all, Roxanne, I want to tell you, don't take offense where offense isn't meant. I haven't had the time, we haven't had the time to lay the foundation for a little bit of a relationship. So if what I say to you strikes you a little bit harsh at first, just give the fact that we really haven't built that relationship. But I'm guessing you want the truth from me. And yes, so I'm going to give you the truth. And that's twofold. When I used to run an agency office, and here's the way I gave my leads out. You had to be at the office. My meeting started Monday at 9 o'clock. You had to be at the office Monday at 9 o'clock. To get your leads for the week. If you showed up at 5 after 9, I wouldn't give you your leads. And I heard the craziest stories in the world. I had to take my kids to school. The kids slept in. The alarm didn't go off. But here's the one that used to freak me out. They would tell me, well, I got a flat tire and I couldn't afford to get a new tire. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. If you got a flat tire on the way, if I told you that if you showed up here at 9 o'clock, I was going to give you $1,000 bill, how would you have gotten here? Well, I would have borrowed my wife's car. So it's not that you couldn't make it. It just wasn't a priority to you, right? My prospects do this to us. They say that I can't afford something while they're sitting there on their $1,200 iPhone. I get that. I get that we have some financial concerns right now. But I guess the question I would ask you is the issue your budget for affording leads or your confidence in converting those leads to paying clients? And if the issue is your confidence in converting those leads to paying clients, because I'm guessing if Jeremiah gave you a lead and say, you call this guy this afternoon at 4 o'clock, he's going to put $250,000 in a 5-year deferred annuity, you'd probably call that person really quick. But if the exact same person filled a form out online and you paid $12 for the email lead and it came to you, you might approach it a little bit differently. So is the real issue that you have a lack of confidence in your ability to convert? And if you do, you're normal. That's what I want to tell you. You're normal. And maybe the problem isn't the leads that you're getting. Maybe the problem is that you need to buy a low-cost asset. You know, leads are like if you had a shoe store and you only sold a size 9.5 shoe, you would really be limiting your market, right? You've got to have enough shoes for all the different people that are coming in there. So here's what maybe you should do. Maybe you should get a profile list. You can get 1,000 profile lists, 1,500 profile lists for maybe 100, 110 bucks. Put together 2 or 3 scripts. Get people to help you with the scripts. I'm happy to help you. Go to lloydlofton.com, schedule 15 minutes. I'm happy to edit your scripts for you. And then split test yourself. Take 2 scripts and call half the list with one script, half the list with another script, until you come up with a script that works for you. And then that $100 is a good investment. Then you can move up to internet leads. Then you can move up to telemarketer leads. Then you can change the type of leads you get. But what happened is because we have a lack of confidence in our ability to convert the lead to a client, we tend not to invest in ourselves, which is what you're doing with a lead. You're not buying a lead, you're investing in yourself.
Well said. Let's jump to another one. This one is submitted by somebody, I don't see their name, but it says, I want my accountant to look this over.
That's probably one of the best referrals you could get from somebody that has come down the sales funnel with you to the point that their perception is in making a buy-in decision. I use the word in making a buy-in decision, they want to align their accountant with you. And when I've had clients tell me that in the past, thank the Lord. Pray, bow down to them. Thank you very much. You know, John, you're absolutely right. I think it's probably one of the smartest things you've said. In fact, I wish most of my clients were as smart as you. Now, when he looks at this, what are the 2 things you want to make sure that you're avoiding? And what's the one thing you want to make sure you get? If he gives me those 2 things and gives me that one thing, I agree 100%. Let's get him on the phone and get the appointment scheduled right now. You see, you can't lose something you don't have. And until he signs the paperwork or gets his accountant to sign off on it, you don't have anything. But I'll tell you what, if you approach that accountant as an alignment with you, if you approach that accountant as someone that you also value their input, and you get that accountant to recommend even part of the program you're submitting to him, you now have an ally for all of his clients. So it's not really, my question to you is, why do you see it as an objection? Maybe what we need to do is see it as an opportunity.
There's an advisor I know that specializes in, people with over $500,000 of assets under management. And what he does when somebody throws that up, actually, he preemptively goes ahead of that. And he says, look, I know you have an estate planning attorney, and I know you have an accountant, and I know you have a this. So here's what you're going to do is I'm going to give you a templated letter. And this letter states that on such and such a date, I request the assistance of you as my CPA, you as my attorney, and you as my so-and-so, because we're all going to get together and talk about my family retirement plan. And I am under the understanding that you will also be billing me for this time, and we will be discussing this. And they send that letter out and they get all those people to a meeting. And then the advisor is chairing the meeting with all these people that are very happy to be there because they're getting paid and they don't think they're a threat. And then after the advisor maneuvers and helps to pull everything together, those people at the table now become his new power partners. And then he goes to them one-on-one, he becomes the new circle of influence, is saying, hey, exactly what we did with Sally over here. Do you have anybody else we could do that to? And by the way, I have other people that I can come and bring to you. So that is the type of creative thinking that the top 1% are doing, Lloyd, where that's not an objection, that's an opportunity. I'd get fired up for the opportunity to get on with somebody's accountant, estate planning attorney, and CPA. I mean, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, if I can make two comments on that. One is, though, I think this young lady is normal to feel like that way, to feel that it's an objection. We don't learn what those type of comments mean until we get some experience doing that. And the second thing is look at the nonverbal language you just described. I'm in a room heading a meeting. All these professionals in the prospect's mind are sitting there looking at me as the subject matter expert. That prospect doesn't realize that he just gave me third-party credibility to all of these people. They're not sitting there to rule me out. They're now sitting there to rule themselves in with the client. And you know what? I don't care if they rule themselves in with the client by pointing out something that we could be doing differently on this plan. Change the plan any dang way you want to, as long as at the end of the day, you sign the agreement. Right? You can buy for your reason, their reason, or my reason. I don't care which reason you buy for.
Love it. All right, we're going to go to Mark Kapsky. Mark, I'm going to click allow to talk. You've got a great question. Let's make sure the audio works. Mark, you should be live if you can unmute yourself.
Hear me, Jeremiah?
Hey, buddy. Do you want me to put up your camera? Because I think everyone wants to see your face.
All right,
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me see if you can. Let's see if it's going to allow you, because it's a webinar format, so it might.
I don't have a share screen on my end.
It doesn't. Okay.
No.
All right. So just
You're
go
fine.
ahead with,
Go ahead with your question.
Just
My
go ahead with
question
audio.
is,
It's fine.
a prospect I have just told me, well, you sent me over these documents. I just haven't had time to read them.
And how long have you known this prospect?
3 years.
And why did you send the documents over?
Because he asked me some very specific questions. He initiated, and I try to respond and give him a point of view.
Did he ask for the documents?
He did, yes.
And when he asked for the documents, did he tell you what he wanted to see in the documents?
Well, yes, I was very specific in terms of what the recommendation was and why it was addressing his concerns.
So when he said that he wanted you to send the documents over, what was it that he was expecting to do with those documents when you sent them over?
My guess is that review it and then discuss it with his spouse, and we would have a follow-up meeting to finalize it.
Okay, can I tell you two things?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want you to promise that you're not going to take offense where offense isn't meant, okay?
Fair enough.
Same argument. We haven't had a chance to build this relationship yet. But anytime, imagine that you're licensed, right? You're a highly trained licensed professional.
Yes, sir.
Imagine you let your brother-in-law or your neighbor come into your office and you educate them on a whole life product or a life transfer, wealth transfer concept. You educate them on something, and then you give them two names and tell them, go to the house, get the wife or get the husband and explain it to them. And then if they have an interest in it, I'll come and sell it to them. Would you do that?
No.
Why not?
I'm giving up control of and giving away my expertise and devaluing my own value.
Well, again, don't take offense where offense isn't meant, but it sounds like that's exactly what you did. You sent documents to an unlicensed, untrained financial advisor so that he could go explain your concepts and your many years of knowledge and wealth of experience to a spouse who we have no idea how she views him. Listen, my idea of a handyman is the yellow pages. My wife would never expect me to change the garbage disposal. I would paint and I can change the lock on a door, but that's about it. And if I told my wife that I was going to install a new central air in our house, she would look at me and think, you are a freaking moron, because she knows I can't do it. So we take an uneducated person in our industry, we send them a lot of information. Remember, people don't catch logic. And this is my second point. People don't catch logic, they catch emotion. We send him a bunch of logic that he's going to take to his wife. And I have no idea, you don't have any idea what his financial health is, if he's made good decisions in the marketplace, bad decisions. But what we're doing is we're sending an untrained salesperson to go in and represent us to someone whose opinion of them we have no idea, and they're standing with that person we have no idea about. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So maybe the way that I would have gone is, I think that's great. I think it's important that you look at this. Now, when I send you the paperwork, I want to send it to you in 3 different emails. And here's why I'm going to send it to you in 3 different emails. Here's the 3 things that I understand you want to accomplish. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to spell those 3 things out. Yes, that's what I want to do. Great. So the first thing I'm going to send you is going to show you how we're going to accomplish this. And I'm also going to have a link on there where we can jump on a quick Zoom like this, and I can answer any questions about it, because every smart person out there, every smart investor out there has a question about it, and you deserve an answer to it. Then I'm going to send you the second one, and then we'll do the same thing. Now, will it only be you on the call, or will it be you and your wife?
The 2 of them.
Yeah, I was role playing it with you there.
Oh, I'll say. Oh.
So that's how you set it up. That's how
Yeah.
you take control about it. And here's why you do it. And this is the craziest thing. We're going into tax season right now, and this is the absolute fact, man. Go online and look it up. You will call an H&R Block guy. You will either go to their office, or maybe in these times you have them come to your house. You give them all your personal financial information. You'll have them do your taxes for you. And that person a year ago could have been a plant manager somewhere. And what they did is they paid a $244 for a tax planning course with HR. And we now treat them as if they have all this knowledge about it. And the truth is, we can't lose something we don't have. There's a reason why doctors back their appointments up at 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30, 10:45, and 11. There's a reason why you show up at 9:45, knowing full well you're not going to get in until 10:15 or 10:30, and you don't complain about it. And that's because they are a professional, right? We see them as a professional. The challenge is for us is we don't necessarily see ourselves as a professional. We don't feel like we're bringing that value to it. My guess is if that client, and again, don't take offense where offense is meant. I don't mean this to be bagging on you. I'm just really passionate about that. If that client had a legal issue and they had a conversation with their attorney, they wouldn't say, okay, well, when I get that paperwork, I'm going to take it to my wife and I'll kind of let you know what we're going to do. They'd probably be like, oh yeah, okay, great. Well, let me get my wife to look at it. We'll sign. Yep. I mean, they would treat you as if you are walking on, well, not water, but maybe a pond, that you're walking on a pond. And I just think that we have to feel that way about ourselves. And one of the ways to do this, Mark, I'll close it off with this. One of the ways we do that to do this is in the very beginning, we got to set this up. And Jeremy, do we have time for me to give them a short setup?
Yeah, for sure. Jump in.
So here's the setup. Mark, Betty, I appreciate you letting me come out today. I just want you to know what I see my job today is. So my job is to ask you questions to figure out what best meets your needs, then help you design a solution that's going to meet that needs. And then I need to fill out the paperwork necessary so that the underwriter makes a financial decision for the company to insure you or annuity or whatever the situation is. And if I do my job right, the way you'll know that I did my job right is they'll issue a policy. And then when the policy is issued, I'll make sure that it's still delivered to you. And at that point, you get to make a final decision. And that's what you'd be expecting to do, right? And I go, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I only have one thing that I want to ask you to do for me. At the end of our visit today, if you've come up with if we've designed a solution that will solve the problem that you want to solve today, that you just give me a yes or no answer. Listen, I'm not like most salespeople. I'm not a product hawker or a price hawker. I'm not going to keep bugging you and nagging you. If the answer is no, I'm going to move on to my next client. I run about 15 appointments a day. I'm good with that. But if we're actually able to design a solution that meets your needs, then I just want you to tell me yes. Is that fair? Can we agree to that? Now, here's what happens when you do that. At the end of the meeting, if they come back and say, I want to think about it, I now get to use their words. Well, Mark, wait a minute, I'm confused. Remember in the beginning I said, and you'll see their eyes will like get huge because they just got nailed. But you know what? I have a right to do that. You're a highly trained licensed professional. You invest in an hour and a half with these people. And you didn't invest an hour and a half. If you've been in the business, I don't know how long you've been in the business. If you've been in the business 10 years, you invested 10 years plus an hour and a half to give these people your knowledge. And you have a right to expect the business. And they will only treat you like Dr. B when we act like Dr. Bing. Does that help, Mark?
Awesome, Lloyd. Thank you.
Sure, buddy.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Mark. And thanks for playing full out. Great question. We're going to move on to Michelle. And by the way, I think I just figured out how to promote people as a panelist. So if you want to come on camera, folks, we'll do that, because I think it's great to, be part of this community and actually see other advisors. And we're going to be coming up with new things down the road with the Power Hour so that this really feels like a big, big party, because I'd love for you guys to see what I see, the hundreds of advisors here, hungry, learning, and we're all doing this together. I'm going to go over to Michelle Galloway. Michelle, you deserve a big thank you, because you have been one of the biggest advocates of the Virtual Advisor Power Hour. I just took you off mute, Michelle. Do you want to just do a little check there? Say hello. Oh, too bad we can't hear Michelle. Michelle, you want to say something? Hello?
Did she type her thing in?
Yeah, let's just handle it by type. But Michelle, if you want to do your own sound check, I'll keep you off mute for now. Here it is. So obviously Michelle's doing a good job, because she's getting this objection. This sounds too good to be true, meaning they love it, but they question it. So they think there's a what's the catch mindset behind it. So what would you rebuttal that?
I love it when people go, this is too good to be true, particularly when I'm selling annuities. I love it. I think it's one of the greatest alignment statements a prospect can make to me. And the reason I call it an alignment statement, remember I said one of the mistakes salespeople make is they're number one for objections. They actually think they have to answer an objection. In fact, I'm going to tell you, here's the best rebuttal. Write this down. It's kind of complicated. Not everybody will understand it. Here's the best rebuttal when someone gives you an objection. You ready? I'm going to give it to you right now. You have to write it down. It's 3 letters. You ready? Huh. Do everybody got that? Huh.
Wait, could you slow it down and say it again?
That's the best rebuttal. Let me get serious. When someone says it sounds too good to be true, I love that, because it gives me a chance to bring grandma into this. I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. My grandmother used to send us out when we were on her front porch and we were acting up. She sent us out to the tree to get a switch so she can whoop our behind. And if you brought back too small of a switch, she'd make you get another one, and she'd use both of them on you. So when they say, this sounds too good to be true, I get it. A lot of my clients feel the same way. Tell you the truth, when I looked at this, I thought so too. But then I remember what my grandmother used to say. My grandmother used to say, if it's too good to be true, do the math. Just do the math. And here's what I love about math. Numbers are neither right or wrong. Numbers aren't prejudice. They don't like blonde hair or black hair. Numbers don't care. Numbers just represent what is. And then do the math with them. So for example, if I'm selling an annuity, I'm just throwing this out here as an illustration. If I'm selling an annuity with a 10% bonus to start, or a 3% bonus to start, and it's a $100,000 annuity, so they're going to get $3,000 to start it. If I'm selling that and I'm comparing that to money they're going to put in the marketplace, we can easily do the math, right? We can easily do the math. Here's a difference between annuity and a CD, for example. In a CD, you don't know what the cost is going to be to get your money out, right? So if you're on a 12-month CD and you take money out in the 4th month or the 7th month, the penalty is paid on the total amount. But with annuity, we know what the cost is. So somebody says it's too good to be true. I agree with you. And that's what I thought when I first looked at this. Then I remember what grandma said, and it's never failed me. Grandma said, if it's too good to be true, do the math. Let's do the math. And then just do the math with them. If you can improve their benefits, reduce their costs, or put them in a better position, which is exactly how you frame it after you do the math, because that's what grandma said. If you can save money or get a better deal, then go ahead and do it. But if you're just going to stay where you're at, you probably shouldn't make a change. And get them to agree. If they agree with the premise and their math shows it's a good deal for them, you don't have to sell them anything. They'll sell themselves. In fact, then you can just do the tie down question. Let's do the math. If the math makes sense, and you probably should, and let them finish the sentence. You probably should. Well, I probably should do it. All right, well, let's do the math. But here's the thing, make sure your math works. Make sure your math is correct. If your math's going to show anything other than a gain over whatever period that you're doing, I don't know what product we're talking about, then you front load that in the beginning. So, the answer is, huh, that reminds me of what my grandmother used to say. My grandmother used to say, if it's too good to be true, do the math. So if you're going to stay the same or make a gain, maybe. But if you're going to lose, you probably shouldn't do it. And I don't think that's wrong, right? You don't think she's wrong, do you? Who's going to say my grandma's wrong? Seriously. No. So let's do the math. And if the math works out, then you'll probably do it. Okay, good. Well, let them do the math. You know, that's really smart. You're really smart to do the math that way. I'm proud of you.
Nice.
that
I
helps.
love it. Total alignment. And like, who's gonna, I love, you know, going back to something that everybody holds near and dear, and that's their grandma, right? Love it.
Right.
Okay, we're rounding the bases here. So the next answer I give you, man, I hope I can give away $100 today, but so far we're batting zero here, Lloyd. So keep it.
Let's do this. If anybody wants to bid in the chat box about what percent of that 100 I get, maybe I'll throw the next one. Just kidding. Just kidding. Chuckle,
Awesome.
chuckle.
So here's one. Almost everyone gets this. We get it via email. We get people reply to this on LinkedIn in 2 minutes or less. This is from Bill. Love this one. I already have an advisor, Lloyd.
All right, 2 minutes or less. I'll give you
Yep.
two things. Either you've got the wrong list or you don't have enough appointments. So your autoresponder, all your emails should be in a funnel.
Mhm.
And you should not be soliciting people to do business with you. You should be bringing value to people. And value to people could be lessons, it could be insights, it could be insider tips. You should be bringing values to people. But if the response back is I've already got an advisor, then if you have 5 appointments today, 15 appointments a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, who cares? All right. You can't lose something you don't have. Why chase that? But if you send 5 emails out over a week and 3 out of 5 emails come back with I've already got an advisor, and maybe you need to work with Jeremy and change your subject line. Maybe you need to put an offer in there that brings more value to them. Maybe we need to get away from the concept of advisor. But why does someone say I've already got an advisor? If you're driving down the street and you pass a grocery store, you don't just inadvertently pull in a car lot and say, hey, I'll look for cars, right? You go to the car lot because you're interested in the car. You get out of the car salesman comes up and says, can I help you? And you say, I'm just looking. Right? Then 2 hours later, you drive off the lot spending more than you said you were going to spend. Did you lie to the guy? Well, no, you didn't lie to him. You just don't want to be sold.